In the highest reaches of Asgard, upon a throne that oversees all the 9 realms of existence, sits a figure of immense power and unfathomable wisdom. This is Odin, the Allfather, the one-eyed wanderer, the god of wisdom, war, poetry, and magic. His story is not one of simple heroism or straightforward divinity, but rather a complex tale of sacrifice, ambition, cunning, and the relentless pursuit of knowledge at any cost. To understand Odin is to understand the very heart of Norse mythology itself. Odin was born in the misty dawn of creation, the son of Bor and the giantess Besla, making him part god and part giant, a duality that would define much of his character. His brothers were Vili and Ve, and together these 3 would shape the cosmos itself. The world they inherited was a realm of chaos, dominated by the primordial giant Ymir, whose massive body filled the void called Ginnungagap. Ymir was a being of pure elemental force, neither good nor evil, but representing the raw, unformed potential of existence. The 3 brothers decided that the cosmos needed order, structure, and purpose. In an act of cosmic violence that would echo through all of Norse mythology, they killed Ymir. His death was catastrophic on an unimaginable scale. So much blood poured from his wounds that it drowned almost all of the frost giants, the race of beings that had emerged from his body. Only one giant, Bergelmir, and his wife escaped in a boat, and from them would descend all future giants, who would forever hold a grudge against the gods for this primordial murder. From Ymir's corpse, Odin and his brothers crafted the entire world. His flesh became the earth, his blood the seas and lakes, his bones the mountains, his teeth the stones and pebbles, his hair the trees and vegetation, and his skull the dome of the sky itself, held up at 4 corners by 4 dwarves named North, South, East, and West. His brains were tossed into the sky and became the clouds. Even Ymir's eyebrows had a purpose, formed into a protective wall called Midgard, the realm where humans would eventually dwell, protected from the chaos of the outer worlds. But creating the physical world was not enough for Odin. He sought to populate it with beings capable of thought, emotion, and creativity. Walking along a beach one day, the 3 brothers found 2 tree trunks, one of ash and one of elm. From these logs, they created the first humans, Ask and Embla. Odin gave them the breath of life and spirit. Vili gave them intelligence and the power of movement. Ve gave them faces, speech, hearing, and sight. Thus, humanity was born, a creation that Odin would watch over with particular interest throughout the ages, sometimes helping them, sometimes testing them, and always learning from them. Odin established his realm in Asgard, the highest of the 9 worlds, connected to Midgard by Bifrost, the Rainbow Bridge. His great hall, Valhalla, would become the most famous dwelling in all of Norse mythology. This magnificent structure had 540 doors, each wide enough for 800 warriors to march through side by side. Its rafters were spears, its roof was made of shields, and its benches were strewn with armor. Here, Odin gathered the greatest warriors who died in battle. The Einherjar, who would feast and fight each day in preparation for Ragnarok, the final battle at the end of the world. But Odin was not content with being merely a powerful god and ruler. He craved wisdom and knowledge above all else, and he was willing to pay any price to obtain it. His most famous sacrifice came when he discovered the Well of Mimir, located beneath one of the roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree that connected all 9 realms. Mimir, the wise being who guarded this well, possessed knowledge of all things past, present, and future. The water of the well granted profound wisdom to any who drank from it, but Mimir demanded a terrible price. When Odin came seeking to drink from the well, Mimir told him that wisdom of such magnitude could only be purchased with significant sacrifice. The price was one of Odin's eyes. Without hesitation, Odin plucked out his own eye and cast it into the well. The pain must have been excruciating, but Odin never flinched. He drank deeply from the well and in that moment, gained knowledge beyond what any god had previously possessed. From that day forward, Odin was depicted with only one eye, the other socket often covered by a wide-brimmed hat or simply empty, a constant reminder of the price of wisdom. But even this was not enough to satisfy Odin's hunger for knowledge. He learned of the runes, powerful symbols that held the secrets of magic, fate, and the universe itself. These runes were not easily obtained, however. To gain their knowledge, Odin subjected himself to an ordeal of unimaginable suffering. He hanged himself from Yggdrasil, the world tree, pierced his own side with his spear Gungnir, and hung there for 9 days and 9 nights, without food or water, essentially sacrificing himself to himself. During this tortuous vigil, Odin peered down into the depths below Yggdrasil, into the primordial void, and there he finally saw the runes. With his last strength, he reached out and grasped their knowledge. The runes revealed themselves to him in all their power and complexity. When he finally cut himself down from the tree, he possessed mastery over these mystical symbols, which he could use to see the future, cast spells, heal the sick, dull enemy weapons, break chains, calm storms, and countless other feats of magic. Odin's pursuit of knowledge extended beyond personal sacrifice. He was known to wander the 9 realms in disguise, often appearing as an old man with a long gray beard, wearing a wide-brimmed hat and a blue cloak, carrying a staff. He went by many names during these journeys, including Grimnir, Harbard, and the Hooded One. He would visit kings and commoners alike, asking questions, telling riddles, and testing the wisdom and hospitality of those he met. Many tales exist of Odin appearing at feasts or battles, observing how people behaved when they did not know they were in the presence of a god. As the god of war, Odin did not fight in the straightforward, honorable manner of Thor. Instead, Odin was the god of strategy, cunning, and the frenzy of battle. He could influence the outcome of wars with his magic, granting victory to whichever side he favored. Warriors who dedicated themselves to Odin would sometimes enter a trance-like state called berserk rage, fighting with superhuman strength and feeling no pain or fear. These berserkers were considered Odin's special warriors, touched by his divine madness. Odin's role as chooser of the slain meant that he decided which warriors would die in battle and which would survive. The Valkyries, beautiful and terrible warrior maidens who served him, would ride over battlefields and select the bravest fallen warriors to bring to Valhalla. This was considered a great honor, though it also meant that Odin's favor could be fickle. He might grant a warrior years of victories only to ensure their death in a final, glorious battle that would secure their place among the Einherjar. The Allfather's family life was complex and often troubled. His primary wife was Frigg, the goddess of marriage and motherhood, who possessed the power of prophecy like her husband, though she rarely spoke of what she knew. Together they had several children, including Balder, the most beautiful and beloved of the gods, whose death would trigger the chain of events leading to Ragnarok. Odin also had children with other women. With the giantess Jord, he fathered Thor, the thunder god, who would become one of the most celebrated deities in Norse mythology. Thor's relationship with Odin was respectful but not always warm, as father and son had very different approaches to problems. Where Odin preferred cunning and foresight, Thor favored direct action and overwhelming force. Perhaps Odin's most troublesome relationship was with Loki, the trickster god. Loki was not Odin's son, but rather his blood brother, having made a pact of brotherhood in ancient times. Despite Loki's growing treachery and the trouble he constantly caused, Odin continued to protect him and allow him to remain in Asgard, a decision that would ultimately prove catastrophic. Their relationship was complex, perhaps reflecting Odin's understanding that chaos and order must exist in balance, and that Loki's disruptions served some greater purpose in the cosmic plan. Odin kept 2 ravens, Hugin and Munin, whose names meant thought and memory. Each day these birds would fly across all the 9 realms, observing everything that occurred, and return to whisper their findings into Odin's ears. Through them, Odin maintained awareness of events throughout existence, though some tales suggest he feared the day when Hugin and Munin might not return, leaving him blind to the world beyond Asgard. At his feet sat 2 wolves, Geri and Freki, to whom Odin gave all the food from his table, for Odin himself needed only wine to sustain him. He also rode an 8-legged horse named Sleipnir, the fastest steed in existence, who could gallop across the sky and sea with equal ease. Sleipnir was actually Loki's offspring, born during one of the trickster's transformations, though the horse served Odin loyally despite its unusual parentage. Odin's greatest burden was his knowledge of Ragnarok, the prophesied end of the world. Through his sacrifices and magical abilities, he had glimpsed the future and knew that a time would come when the forces of chaos, led by the fire giant Surtur and joined by Loki and his monstrous children, would assault Asgard. The gods would ride out to battle, and though they would fight bravely, they would ultimately fall. Odin himself was fated to be swallowed by the great wolf Fenrir, Loki's son, before being avenged by his own son Vidar. Knowing this future shaped everything Odin did. His gathering of warriors in Valhalla was preparation for this final battle. His pursuit of knowledge was an attempt to find some way to avert or survive this destiny. His manipulation of events throughout the 9 realms was part of an elaborate strategy to ensure that when Ragnarok came, the gods would have the best possible chance, even though he knew ultimate victory was impossible. This is perhaps what makes Odin such a compelling figure in Norse mythology. He is not the typical all-powerful god who controls fate and shapes reality according to his whims. Instead, Odin is a god who knows he is doomed, who understands that everything he builds will eventually fall, yet continues to plan, scheme, and sacrifice in the hope of finding some advantage, some way to give meaning to the inevitable end. He represents the Norse cultural values of courage in the face of certain defeat, the importance of wisdom and preparation, and the notion that how you face your doom matters more than the doom itself. Odin also embodies contradictions that make him profoundly human, despite his divinity. He is wise, yet often manipulative. He values honor, yet encourages deception when it serves his purposes. He is a protector of humanity, yet selects which warriors must die in battle. He is loyal to his family, yet willing to sacrifice them for greater purposes. These contradictions do not make Odin a hypocrite, but rather reflect the complex reality that wisdom often requires difficult choices, that leadership demands hard decisions, and that knowing the future does not always provide clear paths forward. The Allfather remains one of the most fascinating deities in world mythology, a god who embodied the harsh realities of the Norse worldview. That life is hard, that death is certain, that the universe tends toward entropy, but that courage, wisdom, and determination matter nonetheless. In Odin, the Vikings found a deity who understood their struggles, who had paid terrible prices for his knowledge, and who faced an inevitable doom with open eyes and unwavering determination. He was not a god to comfort them with promises of easy victories or eternal paradise, but rather a god who showed them how to face the truth of existence with courage and cunning, to seek wisdom even when the cost is high, and to stand ready to fight even when defeat is assured.